Let's move from a joke of a team to a more serious situation. Chris Borland, standout rookie linebacker for the San Francisco 49ers, another team, abandoned ship, as you said, Mark, deciding to retire after his first year in the league. 24 years old, led the league in tackles from week 7 on, didn't become a starter until week 8. I mean, your thoughts on this move, not only for Chris Borland, not only for the 49ers, but for the league as a whole?
Let's throw it over to the athlete first.
Well, being a former athlete and a former football player, it's kind of interesting to me just to kind of see this. You know, a young guy retiring so early. Who's to say that his passion wasn't truly there in the first place? But at the same time, it kind of sends a message because he's thinking about his long-term health. You've heard athletes talk about this all the time. Derrick Rose has mentioned this. He's thinking about his long-term health. Sorry, brother, I just had to mention that. But the fact is, for a young player to think about this, you know that parents are thinking about this. So when it comes down to youth football, you know, how are they going to manage to keep their kids in these football games or playing football at a young age? Or will they just hold off until they get to high school? Or you don't know what's going to trickle down from this type of reaction from this player. You know, do other players kind of think like that? In my mind, though, I mean, obviously when you sign up to play football, you know what the stipulations are. You know that you're going to get injured, but that's part of the game. And if you got a love for it, if you got a passion for it, you're going to go out there and give it your all and just take the punches when it ends, you know? But at the same time, I'm trying to go out there and make a name for myself, make a legacy, have fun, make some money, all that good stuff that comes with playing this great game of football. And then at the end of the day, when I'm retired, then I can worry about my health and try to do lawsuits like everybody else doing with concussions. But at this point, I ain't thinking about it. As a player, I'm ready to just go out there and just have some fun and play the game.
Marv, what
Shout
you
out
think?
to Jim McMahon. I mean, Steve, you bring up a lot of good points. The one thing that definitely sticks out to me is the risk versus reward factor. When you're playing professional football, even college, also to high school, when you're playing a professional, opens up doorways that there might not be open up to you if you're, let's say, a regular student. Mm-hmm. It gives you more advantages, but there are risks that are involved when you're playing it's not a contact sport, but it's a collision sport as football. And the NFL and NFLPA has tried to make it a safer game, but it's still a violent game with violent intentions. I know an NFL player said that this is the only time, 60 minutes, where you can physically violate a man and not be thrown in jail for it.
Man.
And which we understand why Chris Borland retired, because of serious head injuries and concussions as he moves forward. We also hope that teaching kids the proper way to tackle, the proper way to block, the proper way to play football shouldn't deter soccer moms or scare fathers of enrolling their kids into playing football, because it is a great sport. It is a great opportunity, and it teaches you a lot of things that a lot of other sports might not teach you as well, and gives you life lessons as well.
Mm-hmm. We discussed teaching and the trauma. What does it boil down to? CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. This is the progressive degenerative disease of the brain. And this is something that we see in a lot of football players. We saw in a lot of boxers. And you talk about the lawsuit that the league had against, all these former players. Looks like it was settled in 2013, but there were over 4,500 names that included Junior Seau, Dave Dorson, who can forget in Kansas City, Javon Belcher, John Mackey, great tight end, even Chris Henry. Players alive today, Brett Favre said, he has CTE. So when that information is out there, because knowledge is power, and for a man who can be playing the game that he loves, to really leave all that money on the table and walk away, it says a lot.
So, Steve, let me ask you a question. Since you are the former Big Ten athlete, the former captain of the Gophers football team, what made you want to play football? And did you think about concussions, or did you think about the injuries moving forward? And if you were in Chris Borland's position, would you continue to play in the NFL, or would you want to retire early?
Well, I mean, to each his own. Obviously, different athletes have their different mindsets. For me personally, I probably wouldn't have retired just because if I made it to that level, I tried so hard, you know, in my career, played so many years to get to that level, and now that I'm there, I have to be ecstatic, have to be taking advantage of that opportunity. And just being in the NFL, you just gotta love that environment. Everybody's watching you. You know, you're playing on Sundays, you're playing on prime time. This is your dream. Mm-hmm. This is your passion. For players like me, I'm not thinking about injuries. I'm not thinking about concussions. I'll worry about that, like I said, as I retire. But right now, I'm just trying to go out there, have fun. And it's not too many people in the world can do what they do and make a living. You know, so you're like one in a million type of person that can have that opportunity, go out there and play a game to get money.
They make a lot of money. A lot of money doing it.
I wouldn't turn that down, personally. But like I said, to each his own. Some people have their own mind states. And who's to say there might be some more players that kind of thinking the same thing, you know, thinking about their head trauma and all this stuff that's coming out with CTE. You don't even know which players actually have that yet. It kind of comes a little bit later, but if you have concussions, you know, you're susceptible at actually getting it. So it's something to think about, but if you like a die-hard football player, you just want to go out there and be in the trenches and just go out there and don't think about things, then obviously it's not on your mind.